Hi, welcome to Shiloh May. This is Linda. Thanks for joining me today. On my pillow tutorial, I free motioned the center of my flowers, but here are some alternatives. Maybe you don't know how to free motion. There's no shame in that. I'm still learning, as you could see from my tutorial. But here I'm going to show you 3 different ways to finish the inside of your flowers. And that is such the fun part about sewing, is that we can be creative. Stitching doesn't have to be stitching a 5/8 inch seam all the time. So let me show you what I did here on my first flower. So this flower had a center printed in the middle of the flower, like a circle. And I use that as my guide. But if you don't have a circle already in the middle of your flower, feel free to draw one. You can freehand it. You can use a bottle cap or just some small item to draw a circle. And then I set my sewing machine on a 2.0 stitch length. And I started on the outside of my circle, and I'm just gradually spiraling towards the center. And I'm using a 1/8 inch guide as my measurement. Now my presser foot has a 1/8 inch guide on it, so I'm able to use that. But whatever you need to use, do it. If you don't want yours to be that close together, make it further along. If you want your center spiraling to be an oval shape, do that. How fun would that be? But you have the right here to be creative. So take your time. Again, I used a 2.0 inch stitch length. And you see I keep stopping and turning. Make sure when you're turning that your needle's down. That's going to make your circles look even and not all crooked, unless that's how you intend it for them to be. But again, use contrasting thread. I use black here, but use whatever color goes with your flowers or whatever else you might be appliquing. So now here, we're finishing up, and we have the finished product. The tail end still on there, but you see how, there's a close-up. See how I spiraled from the outside in. Flower number 2. I have a smaller white flower that I cut from the fabric that I cut all these other flowers from, that I'm going to attach to the center. Here I'm just stitching forward and then reverse stitching backwards at a slight angle. So I'm just going forward and backwards, forward and then backwards. As long as you want, it could go all the way across this little white flower or whatever circle shape you have in the middle, or it can just stay in the middle, but go forward and then backward at an angle. Then I did probably 8 or 9 rows. Then I turned my fabric to a 90-degree angle right here. And I kept going, doing the same thing over, going back and forth to give it kind of a crisscross pattern. And here's what that looks like, a close-up. Okay, and then flower number 3 is I'm attaching a button. So we don't always have to be, stitching, but I'm going to attach a button, and I'm using my sewing machine. Now, obviously, you can do this by hand, and if you're going to do it with your sewing machine, you're going to need to have a zigzag stitch setting. So be very cautious and take your time. You're not going to use the foot pedal for this. So I took my sewing machine and I set it to zigzag, and then I put the stitch length down to almost 0. And I take my needle and I turn the hand wheel and put it down in the first hole. And then keep turning the hand wheel very gently to make sure that the next part of the zigzag is going to go down into the next hole. So you're just going to go back and forth until you have it attached. And there's the close-up of that one. How sweet, huh? Did you know you could do that with your sewing machine? Anyway, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.